One morning, a heavy, suffocating silence fell over a small village. The daylight barely pierced through the mist that lingered above the hills, casting a pale shadow across the stone houses. The homes still stood, as if nothing had happened. Thin trails of smoke rose quietly from the chimneys, dissolving into the cool morning air. But something was wrong. Terribly wrong. Here wasn't a single soul in sight. No laughter. No crying children. No neighbors sipping morning tea with a familiar hum. Only that haunting silence, the kind that presses against your ears until it almost hurts. Walking down the narrow cobblestone streets, you would hear nothing but the echo of your own footsteps. The houses were not abandoned long ago. They were frozen in time. Imagine this. In one kitchen, a wooden table still warm, a breakfast half-eaten, tea glasses steaming, a slice of bread with a bite taken out of it, as if someone had just stood up and left, leaving the door ajar. But where did they go? That was the question. No one knew, no one saw, no one heard. Not a single scream pierced the night. Think about it. An entire village gone in one night, and not a sound was heard. No shouting, no running, no struggle, no broken furniture, no forced doors, no footprints in the dirt. It was as if every man, woman, and child had simply evaporated into thin air. What remained were only the empty houses, the deserted streets, and the terrifying unknown. You can't help but wonder, where did they go? Who or what took them? Or worse, did something else happen altogether? Today, we dive into one of history's most chilling, most unexplainable mysteries. How does a village vanish in a single night? This isn't just a story. This is a secret. And to uncover it, you must be ready, because the midnight disappearance of this village was only the beginning. This village was a place whose very name was hard to remember. Tucked away between the mountains, lost on the map, it lived quietly on its own. The people survived on farming, tended their animals, and lived their lives in silence. By day, the streets echoed with the laughter of children. By night, faint conversations drifted from the houses. Everything was ordinary. Until that night. On that final night, it was as if a dark veil fell over the village. The air grew heavy. The sounds stopped. No wind, no barking dog. It was as if time itself had frozen. And the village held its breath. The next morning, a merchant arrived. As he did every week, he stopped his cart in the square and called out, "Goods have arrived." But his voice only echoed back at him from the empty streets. No one came. Frowning, he approached the nearest house. The door was ajar. He stepped inside. On the table lay half a loaf of bread, a glass of tea still warm, steam faintly rising, as if someone had been there just seconds ago. But the house was empty. He ran to the other houses, all the same. Plates on tables, doors wide open, belongings untouched, but not a single soul in sight. No footprints, no struggle, no screams, nothing. It was as if some unseen hand had reached out and pulled the very soul of the village away in an instant. The merchant felt a tightness in his chest. "What is this?" he whispered. He scanned the streets, searched every corner. There was no trace, only that cursed silence. And then a memory returned to him, a phrase he had once heard as a child on certain nights. "The mountains take." Could it be that last night was one of those nights? The merchant pushed the first door open and froze. In the kitchen, on a wooden table, sat half a loaf of bread. Its edge had been bitten, as if someone had just eaten and stood up moments ago. On the stove, a pot still simmered faintly, steam rising and mixing with the air. On the floor, a child's toy lay abandoned, a small wooden horse, as though its owner had been playing only a second earlier, and then left. But no one was there. The house was empty. The merchant felt his heart pounding in his chest. He ran to the other houses. Each one showed the same scene. Doors wide open, belongings perfectly in place, as if everyone had simply risen and vanished. In one home, a glass of water sat half drunk on the table. In another, a blanket had slipped to the edge of a chair, not thrown, not torn, but neatly fallen. No chaos, no overturned furniture, no signs of struggle. And yet, not a single trace of the villagers remained. No footprints, no drops of blood, no broken objects. It was as if time itself had frozen, and every man, woman, and child had dissolved into thin air. Outside, the animals wandered aimlessly. A goat bleated in hunger, rubbing itself against a fence. Chickens roamed about, unaware their feeders had long been emptied. One dog stood at the threshold of a house, tail swaying gently, as if waiting for its master to return. But behind that door, there was no one. The merchant felt a lump rise in his throat. "What the hell is this?" he whispered, his own voice sounding strange to his ears. And only one question burned in his mind. How could an entire village vanish without leaving a single trace? And worse still, what had taken them? The silence of the village brought even the authorities to their knees. The first police team arrived, stopping in the middle of the square, staring around in disbelief. From their radios came bursts of static, but no one knew what to do. Soldiers came, journalists, even a few curious villagers from nearby towns. And everyone asked the same question: where are the people? For days, even weeks, the search went on. Forests were combed, every tree and every bush inspected. The bottoms of nearby lakes were dragged. The peaks of the mountains were climbed. But nothing was found, no bodies, no belongings, not even the smallest trace. It was as if the villagers had simply dissolved into the air. Stranger still, every single document in the village had vanished. The mayor's old ledgers, the land deeds, the identity papers, all gone. It was as though the very existence of this place had been erased along with its people. One officer, rifling through an empty cabinet, muttered under his breath, "What the hell? It's like this village never even existed." The records were gone, the files were gone. Even the old wooden sign that bore the village's name was missing, as though an unseen hand had wiped away its history, its memory, everything. For days, the newspapers screamed the story. The village that vanished at midnight. Headlines spread through cities, towns, even across the country. Everyone had a theory. Some spoke of aliens, others of an ancient curse, but none of them could explain the empty houses, the half-finished lives, the silence. The authorities were helpless. The village remained what it had become, a mystery, silent, abandoned, unanswered. But the question lingered. What else was this village hiding? The silence of the village gave birth not to answers, but only to questions. There were no clues, no tracks, no signs, not a single shred of evidence. But the human mind hates emptiness, and so it began to fill the void. In coffeehouses and city squares, even in the pages of the newspapers, people whispered their own theories. Everyone tried to solve the unthinkable mystery, but all they truly had were fear and curiosity. Some pointed to the sky and whispered it was UFOs. A few even claimed they had seen strange lights above the village at night. Something glowing, one insisted, eyes wide, as if it came down from the heavens and took them all. Others spoke of cursed land. An old man, his voice trembling, muttered. Others spoke of cursed land. An old man, his voice trembling, muttered. And then came a darker theory, a secret military experiment. The government was testing something, people murmured. The villagers were erased by mistake. Rumors spread from ear to ear. But no theory could ever be proven. no documents, no witnesses, not even a trace. And so, instead of solving the mystery, the theories only made it grow darker. People shivered as they imagined the empty houses, the half-finished tea glasses, the toy horse left lying on the floor. Each theory felt like a piece of a shadowy puzzle, and yet none of the pieces fit. The village stood in silence, as if mocking the whispers, guarding its secret still. Was the truth hidden within one of those theories? Or was it something far more terrifying? Years have passed, yet the village still stands. Silent and eerie. Abandoned houses, stone walls, doors swaying in the wind. It was as if time itself had stopped here. But some still gathered the courage to come. Adventurers, curious tourists, even mystery hunters. All of them searching for answers in those empty streets. And all of them said the same thing. The village still feels alive. Some claim to hear strange sounds from the houses at night. A whisper, the creak of a door, a distant child's laughter. "There's someone there," one visitor said, voice trembling. Others insisted they had captured unexplained things on camera. A shadow appearing in a dim window. A dark shape moving across a street. The most chilling story came from a group of tourists. When they entered a house, they found a bowl of soup on the table. Still warm, steam rising. Someone must have just put it there, they said. But no one was inside. The dust on the floor covered everything else, except that single bowl. Even after all these years, the village seemed as if it could awaken at any moment. Doors remained ajar, belongings untouched. As if the villagers could return at any second, sit at their tables, and continue drinking their tea. But that moment never came. The village whispered its secret, yet no one could understand what it was saying. Were these sounds, shadows, the warm bowl of soup, just a figment of the imagination, or was the village still hiding something? Something very real? A village vanished in a single night. Imagine it, an entire village. People, lives, memories. Wiped away in an instant. No trace, no bodies. Not a single answer. All that remained were the empty houses. Half-eaten loaves of bread on tables. Cooled pots on the stove. A child's toy lying abandoned on the floor. And that cursed silence, ringing in your ears, chilling you to the bone. Years have passed, yet the village still stands, as if waiting for something. At night, whispers drift from the houses. Shadows appear on cameras, and sometimes a bowl of soup remains on a table, still warm, as if the village could awaken at any moment. So what do you think lies behind this disappearance? A curse that fell upon the mountains? Aliens coming in the dead of night, taking the village away? Or is history guarding a dark secret it's never revealed to us? Every theory, every story only deepens the mystery. Yet no answers emerge. Write in the comments, what do you think happened? Because sometimes the scariest things are the unanswered questions. And this village continues to whisper those questions forever.